In Blender 5.2, we've now got new cloth physics, which can be really fun to play with. In this video, I'll show you how to set it up, what to watch out for if things go a bit weird, and how to have the cloth affected by other objects in the scene. If you like this style of learning, then check out the description for my links to other useful content and courses. So let's play with the new cloth physics. I'm in a completely new startup file and I'm in Blender 5.2, and this new cloth simulator is only available in 5.2, so make sure you're up to date. I'll select the default cube and delete it, and Shift A to add. It's also in the add menu up here, mesh, and then plane. So I've got my cloth just here. Now in order for this cloth to deform like a cloth would, we need lots of vertices. If I go into edit mode with tab, so that's edit mode up here, you can see we've got 4 vertices. If I add cloth physics to this, it will only move around those vertices, so it won't look much like a cloth. So I'll right click and subdivide. That takes each face and divides it into 4, and I can come down to the bottom dialog box here, change this to something like 70, let's say. So it's nice and dense. I'll minimize this again now. This way when I add the physics, it will move around these different vertices as if they were a cloth. Okay, so back to object mode, so tab back to object mode, across to the modifiers just here, and add modifier and start typing in cloth. And there's 2 types. The cloth simulation or cloth dynamics is the one we want. It does say it's experimental, so they're obviously still changing a few aspects to it. So do be aware of that, and do save your work regularly in case of crashes. So I'll select that and I'll bring out the modifiers there so you can see it nice and easily. Now it is worth noting that this is a geometry node as well. And if I go to geometry nodes now, you can see that the cloth dynamics has been added. I'm not going to go into the geometry node side of things. I'm going to keep it nice and simple. So let's go back to layout mode, but just be aware if you want to make changes and do interesting, weird stuff to it, you can use the geometry nodes. I've seen a good tutorial on the geometry node side of things, so if you're interested in that, I'll place a link in the description. Okay, so now the cloth dynamics are added. If I press spacebar, which is the same as the play button just here, spacebar, you'll see it falls to the floor, or falls through the floor, not that we've got a floor. You'll also see in the timeline, if I just bring that out a little bit here, this purple line, and that's what Blender has solved so far. And as I press play, it solves more of it. If I make any changes, this will disappear and it will need to resolve. So it's always a good idea before you make any changes just to bring the timeline back to the start. If you make changes in the middle of the animation, and you'll see it's way down there, then it might act a little bit strangely. Okay, so we don't want it just falling down. We want it to actually flap in the wind. So again, bring my playhead back to the start. Right at the very top of the modifier, you've got pin group. So this is a group of vertices that won't be affected by the cloth dynamics. So basically they're pinned in place. So if I go into edit mode, I can select, let's say, the top vertices here to try and get those. Alt left click to select an edge loop like so. Or you could just select individual ones like this if you want to. So I've got a few pinned vertices there. But how do I add these to a pinned group? Well, it's looking for a vertex group, and you can get to the vertex groups in the object data properties just here. And there's vertex groups at the top, so we can add a new one. Double click to rename it, and I'll call this pins. And I want to assign the selected vertices to this group. So assign. They can't straight away see what's been assigned. You can deselect and select again to see that you have assigned something to that group if you want to check. So my pins group has got these 5 vertices attached to it. Let's go back to our modifier now, and under pinned group, I can then change this to use pins, the group that I created. So now when I press spacebar, let's just go back to object mode with tab. I can press spacebar and you can see those pinned vertices stay in place, and therefore it is acting like cloth. Let's right click and shade smooth so it looks a bit nicer. And that's working relatively well as a cloth. What I'm also going to do is make my animation a little bit shorter, so 135 just to make things a little bit faster. Okay, so that's great. Now one thing that's quite fun about this, if I press play and press G to grab, I can actually move it around and it will update in real time. As you can see there, I can move this around. You can see my frames per second up the top here. That goes red occasionally. That means it's dropping frames. That's probably because I've got my screen recorder recording at the same time. But usually I don't get that, but it will depend on the speed of your machine. Okay, so I'll press spacebar to pause that. I'll go back to the beginning and show you there's a fun thing that you can do. You can press the record button, press play, spacebar, and G to grab and move around, and you can actually record your movement. So I've pressed spacebar to stop it. So you can see these white dots here. That's the keyframes of my object and its movement. Now, if I press play again, you can see that movement has been recorded. So that's quite fun. And you can see a bit more of the cloth dynamics there as well, which is great. Okay, so what about some of the other options over here? Well, I'll just quickly talk about stretchiness and bendiness to start with, and then we'll add an object that our cloth can interact with and talk about a few more. So let's start with stretchiness. If I turn this up to 1 and press play, in fact, bring my timeline back to the beginning and press play, you can see that the stretchiness, well, you can straight away see what it does, and 1 is way too much. So let's try 0.1. And again, because I changed it in the middle, it goes a little bit strange, but we can bring it back to the start, press play, and you can see a little bit more stretchiness there. Not a great deal, actually. Let's turn it up to 0.3, bring this back to the start, press play, and that's too stretchy. So you have to be a little bit fine with this. So 0.2 in this case, and press play, and there's some stretchiness going on there, and it looks rather strange. Then there's bendiness. I'll just bring the stretchiness back to 0, bring my playhead back to 0. Let's turn off record for now, actually, and then put the bendiness up to, let's say, 6. Now you can sort of see that it changes the structure of the cloth. And it's one of those you have to play with to understand a bit more. But hopefully you're getting the idea that you've got these 2 parameters to play with and change things around. Okay, let's go now to the solver. This is basically how detailed or how much effort it puts into solving the movement of the cloth. So we can put this up to 10 and we should see some change in this. I'll bring it back to the 0, press play, and you'll see that it is a bit more detailed. So the sub steps is mainly the one you want to change. The constraint steps you can also turn up. But I found the sub steps, if you turn those up, you get some better results basically. So that's working quite nicely. I'm going to turn the bendiness back down to 0. And then restart, and you can see the difference that makes. And let's turn this back to 5, and you can see it adjusted very slightly there. And to be fair, the 5 looks okay, but you can see that turning this up, it will solve it a bit slower, but with more detail. Then underneath that is the structure. Now, this is a little bit strange. Now, I'll only talk about the mass to start with. You'll notice that it's a mass of 1 kilogram, and this is what it looks like at the moment. And then if I change this to, let's say, 100 kilograms, so a huge change, start again, press play, you'll see that there's no difference. Now, the reasoning for that, as I understand it anyway, after playing for a bit, this mass is kind of taking these into account. So if I change the stretchiness to 0.1 with a mass of 100 kilograms, now we'll see the stretchiness is pulling all over the place. So this in conjunction with these makes a difference, but on its own, if these are set to 0, the mass makes no difference. Now, before I go on to friction and collision radius, let's add in an object. So I'll go back to the start again. I'll come around to the side here, Shift A to add, mesh and monkey's always good. Scale it down a bit, put that in the way. So it's definitely going to hit the monkey somewhere around about there. And obviously when I press spacebar now, I haven't set anything up, so it just falls straight through. So we have to make the monkey a collider. So we can, with the monkey selected, add a modifier to the monkey and just type in col for collider. And there's the simulation collider just there. You don't really need to change a lot in here, but when I bring this back to the start, press play, it still goes straight through. What we have to do is let the cloth know, so select the cloth again, that there is a collider to look out for. So we go to the effectors, and you can actually use things like wind and so forth as well, and set that up in geometry nodes using effectors. But at the moment, we're looking for a collection. So it looks like we have to put the monkey into a collection in order for it to be counted as a collider. So select the monkey, M to move to new collection, and I'll call this colliders in case I had several. And then back to the cloth, choose my down to effectors and choose my colliders collection. And now when I go to the start, we should see it collides and moves around and acts accordingly. We are seeing a little bit of breakthrough here though. So that's where we come to the structure once again, and there is a collision radius just here. So if I click on that, back to the start, press play. Oh, we probably need to go up a little bit more. So 0.025, and that will probably do. Back to the start. And there we go. So sometimes you have to put the collision radius up, and now we haven't broken our cloth. The other thing is the friction. You'll notice it's 0.5 by default. If I turn this up to 10, and then back to the beginning, that should be how sticky it is to the object. So you can see it's not moving much at all there, and these areas are sticking nicely to the monkey. So that's the very basics. There is another option like tearing, that's quite fun, and tearing combined with friction. If I go back to the start, press play, it should start breaking up a little bit depending on some of the factors within tearing, like the threshold. Let's turn that up. And let's see what happens when we move it around now. We should see some tearing. Oh, I haven't moved it enough, it seems. Let's try turning this up to 100. Back to the start. Oh no, the threshold needs to go down, doesn't it? 0.1. Here we go. Yes, I went the wrong way with the threshold, of course. So 0.5, I can't remember what the default was now. Let's go over the threshold and press backspace. That should take you to the default, I think. So let's change this to 0.8, see what happens. Let's try 1 then. Oh, it really is falling apart now, isn't it? Let's try 3. There we go. Okay, so minor adjustments with the threshold is going to be better, I think. Down a tiny bit, and is it going to tear now? There we go. Tiny bit of tearing. That's what I was after. So a threshold of 1.1 makes quite a difference, and it will make a difference how much friction we have, as how sticky it is, and how much movement there is as well, as to how ready it is to tear. So that's the basics of the cloth. Hopefully that's given you a nice introductory guide. If you've got any questions, then do comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.